Yeah, there's them.
Um,
Did you watch the
But
women's team game earlier?
me or
me?
him?
Either of you?
I
No.
was working,
Yeah, I
so
didn't see it
I was
either.
working during
I
both
saw
of
it
the
was on the
games,
rundown,
actually.
and I wasn't sure if any of us had seen it.
Nah.
I was busy traipsing around Chapel Hill.
So we probably shouldn't try to talk about it too much, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Um.
I think James made all these notes.
Is he not able to come in?
No, he emailed like 10 minutes ago saying he couldn't.
All right.
I was like,
What do we
Okay.
want to talk about? We'll skip this
well,
profiling Stack Republic stuff. Don't worry about that. Um, other things. We'll talk about other
Uh.
things. Ian put that in
By
there.
the way, I just wanted to say, do you guys mind if I cut out after the Czech Republic thing?
Yeah, that's
no,
not a
not at all.
problem.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
No, you're trapped here as long as we say you have to be here.
Sorry.
U.S.
Damn.
Panama. I watched that one. New kits. We can talk about those. Obama and Robbie Rogers. We can talk about that. I don't know much on the Frank Borgie death or on Tim Cahill's comments about. Oh no, I saw that Petke.
hmm
And then Ayongo, I don't know much on. Have you been following that saga?
I know that his first name is Ambroise, and that
Nice.
Cameroon, and that there's some suspicion that
Where's the fancy
maybe.
strike through button? I don't want to delete it. I want to be real
Oh no,
fancy and strike through it.
I actually know a little bit about the Ayongo thing, so don't
Okay.
strike through it yet.
All right.
I have a
If I have to.
somewhat clever thing to say about it, but
Ooh, somewhat clever. I can't wait.
yeah, it'll actually just sound really shitty. So,
Okay, good.
all right, whenever you're ready, Chris, we can get started.
All right. I'm gonna hit
Oh, we have
record.
to.
Let's all
We
hit
yeah,
record.
you have to hit record. We
We
also
should
have to
count down
sync.
for
Yeah, the 3, 2, 1 clap thing.
All right.
that.
3, 2, 1, then clap.
Yes.
3,
We're
2,
clapping instead of
1.
recording?
We're gonna clap after 3, 2, 1,
And
and then
then
we're gonna clap just for fun.
okay.
So everybody recording?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, we're gonna go 3, 2, 1, clap. Such a good
All right.
delay.
That wasn't bad. That was a lot better than we usually do. We usually really mess this up and have to do it 4 times.
I'm a good
Okay.
countdown coach, like 1, 2, 3, go kind of thing. That's what I do with my life.
Shit.
All right, I'm ready. When you guys are.
Yeah,
It's
we're ready.
Walla
Ready?
Walla beans. Is that enough Wallas?
Yeah, that's enough.
Walla Walla.
I swear to
Nice.
God, I
I
don't
can
know why
read.
I ever chose that name.
I'm
It's
a
been my
good
name since I was
reader.
like 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well. It could have been a lot worse.
All right, here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to slashMLS Cast. My name is Chris, as sometimes, not as always, as sometimes. My Reddit username is PatLanups11. We got Ian here.
Yep, I'm Ian. Username Armasgarhu.
And also, we have our special guest, Reddit username Walla Walla Beans. We got Josh in. Say hi to everybody.
Josh Beeman. Hello, everybody.
Josh is here to talk to us about Sacramento Republic and their viability in the MLS. We'll also talk a little bit about the recent friendlies that have come through, and I guess we'll get around to a couple other things. But let's just jump right into it. Let's talk Sac Republic.
All right. It's
Yeah,
about all I do these days.
so Josh, the reason that we're having you on is because it's sort of part one of a somewhat ongoing series about expansion hopefuls, and Sacramento does hope to be an MLS one day, as a lot of people
Yes,
know.
we do.
And it's going pretty well. The bid. You guys have got a lot of money behind you, and there's like even a stadium plan, kind of, sort of, and even the mayor likes it. That's kind of super rare for the mayor to like
Yeah.
something like that. So how's it going?
It's going pretty fantastic. As far as the stadium plan goes, it's not like a kind of sort of stadium plan. Well, I guess it kind of depends on what you mean. They don't have a
It's a
specific
kind of stadium plan, not a kind of
kind
sort
of
of
sort of
stadium plan. It's just kind
yeah,
of.
but yeah, just kind of. But the stadium plan, like they have a location in the Sacramento rail yards, which they always love to say it's like the biggest non-used piece of undeveloped land or whatever in the United States. But they have the location, they have a general rendering with a whole lot of neon purple in it, so that's good. And so basically, as far as the stadium goes, as soon as MLS says go, they can begin building the stadium. So it's more of a sure thing, I guess you could say. But overall, the bid is doing really fantastic. As you said, there's been a lot of money coming into the team recently. Then there's all the season tickets. They're actually, if I remember correctly, they're on track for this season to be, when it starts, they're on track to have 8,000 season ticket holders. So that's a pretty good number. It's actually the capacity of Bonnie Field, which is the stadium that they play in, last season. So they'll have as many season ticket holders as they had seats last year. So you could pretty much point at whatever item MLS has on their list, and Sacramento's pretty much checked that one off in a fantastic way.
Now, what is the game plan? What is the timetable that people are kind of expecting on these moves? Because I know we're already looking at the possibility of Miami and Atlanta seem to be in kind of prime position to take on the next two spots in the league. Are people on your end seeing this as a longer term project, or do you think there's a chance that it can happen in the near future?
Honestly, I think people are they're seeing it as a guarantee in the long term. That's fans and team. That's fans and the team people, like ownership. At every step of the way, pretty much, I've been talking to the ownership and front office people, and they've always told me that it's not a matter of if Sacramento gets into MLS, it's a matter of when, and they want it to be sooner rather than later. I think if you'd ask a lot of people out here, everybody's kind of hoping for Beckham's MLS bid to kind of like fall on its face, and then maybe Sacramento can just take that spot.
Kind of like the same way we're all hoping for Qatar's World Cup to fall through so that we can come in and be like, oh, I guess we can have it here instead.
Yeah,
I guess
if
we can
both
put
of
a
those
World
things
Cup
happen on the
together.
same day, that'd be perfectly fine with me.
Now, Sacramento does seem like the surest MLS bet in a while, but there are at least a little bit of concerns. I know there's concern with San Jose being right there and there being two teams in the Bay Area before. I mean, I know Sacramento isn't like really in the Bay Area, but they're kind of close-ish. Same, I don't know, region of the world or whatever. And
I mean, there aren't any teams in Nebraska yet. Why don't they get a chance first?
Because there needs to be people in Nebraska first.
Oh, right.
Omaha actually has a pretty legit soccer following. Like Creighton brings out quite a few people. Someone should start a USL Pro team in Omaha. Just saying.
That would be pretty cool.
No, but
I'll talk to Nicholas about it.
Fine, I'm going to switch my joke to Wyoming. Can we do that?
I can't. Well,
Done.
Cheyenne's in Wyoming.
Sure is.
Yeah. So I don't know how many people are in Cheyenne. When I was little, I used to imagine that Cheyenne had an MLS team, but anyway, I don't know why.
Well, that doesn't
That's
help
an
anybody.
that's an odd thing to imagine.
I imagined a lot of things when I was a kid, and half of them were true. We are all in a world of trouble.
No, but so what differentiates Sacramento from San Jose enough that it adds value to what MLS would want?
And let's do this before we go any further too, Josh. You said you had been talking to the team. Do you want to let everybody on the podcast know kind of what capacity you've been talking to the team and where your information is coming down from?
Oh yeah, sorry. I wasn't sure if
That's all right. We hadn't asked the question that led to that yet,
Yeah.
so that's on us.
I didn't want to go ahead and just like, by the way, everyone.
Now it's
But,
time to name drop.
Yeah, much like we were mentioning before we started recording, we mentioned John, one of your more recent guests, and how he works at Reckless Challenge. He's actually we're coworkers. I cover Sacramento Republic for Reckless Challenge. He's actually been at it much longer than I have. I just joined in like the last year or so, but that's what capacity I've been talking to them as like kind of the third rung of the media out here, because we actually, even for a USO Pro team, they get a considerable amount of media coverage. Selling out your first game 20,000 plus kind of does that. But we've got like the newspaper, then the Davis newspaper, and then there's me.
Excellent. All right, back to the question.
Yeah. So the question was, what differentiates Sacramento from San Jose?
Like,
Like,
what does Sacramento add to the MLS, I guess, spiel? Like, they want to fill in media markets like Miami and Minnesota and Atlanta. So what does Sacramento add to the MLS table?
well, I know that from the beginning, even before the team was actually called Sacramento Republic, when it was just an idea, that it was just the expansion franchise, they've always been saying that Sacramento it's one of the bigger. It's actually a pretty big media market. When people, I'm not sure how it ranks just off the top of my head with like Miami or other potential expansion sites, but I think when people think Sacramento, they think kind of like the cow town that it's always portrayed as. When it's not really like that. We're a pretty substantially sized media market. There are others that are better. If we do get into MLS, we would be a small market team. Sacramento is just a small market team town, but neither of the teams in the city, the Kings or the Republic kind of have that mentality, so I'm not sure how that would work. But I'm getting a little bit off track. As far as like kind of what differentiates San Jose and Sacramento, I know it's kind of like uh, I don't want to answer the question like this, but I'm going to have to ask. Like, if you ask somebody in San Jose if Sacramento was the Bay Area, they would laugh in your face. Same thing if you asked somebody in Sacramento if Sacramento was the Bay Area. It's they're close, yes, but they're very different, and I think a lot of it is they're close enough so that it could be a really actually intense rivalry. I think I'm not sure if I answered your question in any way, shape, or form. Actually,
Oh, it's actually makes a fair amount of sense. Incidentally, I just looked
you know,
at the Wikipedia media market, whatever's Sacramento is really high up there. It's like eighth, four,
yeah,
five, six, seven, eight, ninth,
They're
ninth.
almost big enough
Sorry.
to support an NBA team.
So that
nice.
actually brings me to my next question, which, or just like observation, I guess. I've noticed there are a lot of So I do this occasionally where I just like list off all the major professional sports teams in my head, and I notice there are a lot of one town or one team towns, and most of them are NBA towns like Memphis and Sacramento and Orlando and San
Mhm.
Antonio, and a lot of them are really into soccer. Do you think there's any sort of connection there? Like, what makes Sacramento like a big basketball and soccer town, like combined potentially?
Combined, as far as like what relates basketball and soccer, you mean?
Well, I guess like my hypothesis is that the average NBA fan now is kind of young, kind of my age. It fits similarly demographically. They're pretty tech savvy. It's a
Hmm.
similar demographic to who gets into MLS and who gets into soccer. So I'm wondering if that's something that I'm just pulling out of my ass, or if that's actually like a real thing.
No, I think. Well, I mean, I can't answer yes or no, but
Hmm.
I'd say that it sounds good to me anyway. It
Yeah.
sounds like something that could be true. And what actually immediately came into my head is kind of the story of how Matt Doyle the armchair analyst, got into soccer. I remember it was probably on one of his many AMAs that he used to do, where he said that he actually was a basketball fan first, and then he got into soccer because of its kind of similarities to basketball, kind of
Hmm.
in how the game works. There's obviously more scoring in basketball, but it's all about where the players are in relation to each other and ball movement and working as a team, things like that. So it
Spacing.
might be a little bit of that too.
And
Yeah.
it runs straight through basketball's off season, which can't hurt.
Yeah, but as far as what you were saying, where these NBA towns have a lot of interest in soccer, I'm noticing that just in the fans that come to the games and that interact on social media, on Twitter and stuff like that. There's a lot of overlap. It seems like just about everybody that you'd see at Bonnie Field on a Saturday or Sunday or whatever. Uh, well, I won't say you'd see them at a Kings game because the tickets are a bit more expensive, but they'd pr- you'd
Well, maybe
you
not
would
right now.
likely, huh?
The tickets might not be that expensive now. You guys are like 1 in 20 in the last 21 games or
We're
something.
going to make fun of the Kings as many times as possible throughout this podcast, just so you know.
Okay, and I really hope that people in Sacramento don't hate me for saying this, but I honestly haven't really followed basketball all that much in the past really long time. So,
Fair
I
enough.
mean, you guys could go ahead and do it, but there's no
Okay.
skin off my back right now.
We're
We
not
won't, we
doing it
won't,
at your expense. We're just having a blast ourselves.
no,
Oh.
I was specifically doing it to get a rise out of you, but
Oh, I'm
not.
just
I'm
doing
just
it
kidding.
because it's so much fun.
Yeah, but
You guys
no,
have Boogie though. Boogie's fun. He's cool.
yeah, uh, yeah,
Maybe he'll come to a Republic game.
that would be something to see. Actually, the head owner, the head investor, the owner of the Republic was on the Grant Napier show recently, and Grant Napier is like the voice of the Kings for broadcast and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
from what I understand, he's like a notorious soccer hater. Like he just despises the game. And he actually came out to the championship game last season, so he's like, if you can get Grant Napier to come out to a soccer game, you've got something special going on. So make of that what you will. I hope Grant Napier doesn't hate me now.
Well,
Burning those bridges in Sacramento.
so I think the only other real criticism, critique, or whatever that I've heard on the Reddit sphere is that Sacramento has a clearly defined end goal, such that if that doesn't get reached for whatever reason, like it's probably pretty clearly going to, but if for some reason it doesn't, then the Republic might suffer. What would you say to that?
I would say just initially that I actually asked the president of that of the Republic the same question last season. He is a little bit more experienced being interviewed than I am, and he actually has a story to push. So he kind of dodged that question and just did the thing where like it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Hmm.
But in talking to a lot of fans and being a fan myself, I think that there would it, there would probably be a drop in the big newspaper media coverage since they wouldn't be going to MLS, and that's like been a big part of what they've been reporting on and why they've been reporting on it. But honestly, I think there's just this might sound like a little edging on approaching cliche territory, but there's just a lot of uh, passionate soccer fans out here, and I think it's there. I think that the Republic would still be a really, really successful lower division club in the event that it has to stay in USO Pro and doesn't move up to MLS either now or forever. I think you'd still see quite a lot of support, maybe not as ravenous and kind of out there in the media as it is because they are trying to attract all that attention. But really, I think a lot of fans that I've talked to, even on the Sac Republic subreddit, there have been people that have just been tossing around like they're getting frustrated, just like a lot of MLS fans are. They're getting frustrated with Don Garber, particularly that he seems to be kind of trying to arbitrarily a little bit increase the competition for those last spots by going to cities like St. Louis or San Antonio and like kind of building up the hope that they may even have a chance to get this to get this last expansion slot. So they're kind of frustrated with that. They've been saying, well, we don't really need MLS, I guess. We have a professional soccer team here. Lower division soccer's not bad to watch. We've still got a good quality product. I think the quality of the product on the field might drop because you've got players like Rodrigo Lopez, Mickey Daly, guys like that. They've signed a lot of long-term contracts this offseason, and
Interesting.
they might be and the reason I say long-term contracts is because before this season, the normal contract in USO Pro has generally been like a 1 year contract. So it would
Right.
be renewed like just about every offseason with maybe a few guys with multi-year contracts. Most of the players from last year that are signed are on at least 2 years. So I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these players are looking at the Republic as their chance to step up into MLS. So if that kind of goes away, you might see uh, less talented players, but I think the support would still be there. There's actually, I'm not really a big fan of this particular plan because I don't think it'll work. But there's actually been some people saying, well, maybe if MLS doesn't take us, we could jump up to NASL because that's a higher division because it says it's second, even though it's the results on the field haven't shown that much of a difference. There is a difference, but not that much of a difference.
Yeah, I have my own problems with that. You listened to at least one of the podcasts with John where I've
Mm.
mentioned that I would kind of prefer the Railhawks to move down to USL Pro if at all possible, because Atlanta's leaving soon, and
Mhm.
then we're gonna have no local rivals
Leaving
left.
or dying?
One of the two, one of those things will happen. But yeah, um, yeah, I would really like to play Charleston and Wilmington and Richmond and Charlotte. That would be fun.
Yeah,
Instead of not playing those guys. So, yeah, I think that delineation is kind of silly. On the subject of USL Pro, are people a little bit less excited? I've asked John this, and I've asked RP, not on the podcast, but just in general, Richmond guy, this. Are people less excited legitimately because of all of these two teams that are in the league now?
there really seems. Well, I was going to say there seems to be two kind of people on this issue, but there's really kind of three or two and a half maybe.
Okay.
Uh, there's people that yes, they don't like seeing that there's MLS reserve teams there. You'll see a lot of those people. A lot they're the ones that are generally like if you'd ask them maybe in a Reddit post or whatever, they're the people who would say like yes, we don't like it, and then they get upvotes from the people that agree with them. There are more people I think that have the idea of I don't really care who my team is playing. I'm not going to see the away team. I'm going to see the home team.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of fans are more in that mind. But I think among some other fans you'd see, and I count myself among this group, that there's a there is reason to be concerned that the interest might drop a little bit, but I don't really think it will because, like I said, the people are generally going for their home teams. Now, the attendance for the MLS2 teams might be pretty bad outside of Seattle and Portland and stuff because they seem to really be pushing fan involvement with those teams. But uh,
Well, and because Portland Timbers tickets are really fucking hard to get,
well, yeah, that too.
from what I'm
And
told.
yeah, and Portland, all those hipster people's like, well, I saw this player when he was with Portland too,
Yeah, that's
so
that's true story. Yeah.
But I'm just talking stereotypes. But
Aren't we all?
yeah, pretty much. But geez, what was I gonna say? I think that people who are concerned with attendance for the MLS2 teams, they might have a point. We'll see. I think all they have to go on at this point is the LA Galaxy 2 attendance, and let's be perfectly honest, LA Galaxy doesn't exactly have the best record of selling out their games and being, the big drawing team.
Hmm.
I'm saying that from Northern California, so take that bias however you will. But so I don't think having LA Galaxy 2 have low attendance numbers is all that really surprising. I think the real thing is we'll see how it turns out with this season because there's so many MLS2 teams that came in. Everybody's going to be kind of watching those numbers, I think. Especially Sacramento, actually, because 57, I think, percent of Sacramento's games are going to be played against MLS2 teams, both home and away.
Hmm.
So I think you could actually get a fair judgment of how it would change attendance at home against an MLS2 team if you look at Sacramento Republic's numbers while adjusting for the fact that every single game is going to be at Bonnie Field instead of like 3 or 4 of them at the 20,000 seater stadium that's also here. But
Right.
as far as what some people have said about the level of play, I don't really think that that argument really holds water because there's going to be more money in the league from all these MLS2 teams. There's going to be more talent because they're going to be bringing these talented young players up and giving them some minutes. I think it's still going to be exciting. I think that the people who are worried that they're going to be that teams are going to be concentrated too much on development. Obviously, didn't watch the MLS reserve teams that came to play other teams last season because I remember one time, and because the teams that didn't have an affiliate or an MLS2 team just made it like a normal reserve league game. I
Mhm.
remember hearing about a game, I think it was against Charlotte or something like that, where like the Chicago Fire brought 11 players for a starting 11 and then 2 players on the bench and then played the entire second half with like 9 players.
Really?
So I think people are worried that it's going to be that kind of a situation, but I seriously know that.
Yeah. And I think the talent argument or concern. Well, there's instead of playing in USL Pro, these guys are playing for MLS teams. Like instead of there being 14 third division sides to choose from to loan or wherever, there's now 24.
Hmm.
I've never been a big fan of that argument simply because it's soccer. It's not like another sport where there's like finite amount of talent.
Oh, you mean
There's
the talent dilution argument? Yeah, I really hate
yes,
that one.
yeah. It's it makes sense for a lot of sports, but soccer isn't one of them. I feel
No.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like there's a lack of American third division type soccer players in the world.
Yeah.
So,
I
so
mean, and there's also, however many college soccer players that are coming out of college that don't get drafted or get drafted and don't get signed.
mhm,
I mean, there's a whole bunch of those players that you could just snatch up for USL Pro too. The
right,
good ones will stay.
yeah,
The bad ones will hope that they got a good degree.
yeah. It's a good thing that there's more opportunity for college soccer players. Um, just in general, that sounds like
Yeah.
fun. Um, but on the competitiveness note, USL Pro has expanded a lot, obviously, for the last couple of years, and there's kind of a notion that maybe they'll expand a lot more, bring in like Detroit and I don't know, a bunch of other towns that could really use a good soccer team,
Hmm.
um, up and eventually split off into two. I kind of like that idea. What do you think?
Into two
And doing
separate
sort of a
leagues.
pro rel type, yeah, like a USL
Um,
Pro 1 and a USL Pro 2.
I think they used to have that. But
Yeah, I know they did it in like the early O's or late, I don't know, something. It it
before
it
the
was a
great
thing.
schism that gave
Yes,
us NASL.
yes.
But from a purely hypothetical standpoint, I guess that would be kind of cool. But I don't know. I think that is very interesting, and I think that's probably something that the USO Pro and USL higher ups are probably thinking about. I'm not saying that because they've told me. I'm saying that because if people around our MLS have been thinking about that, I guarantee that that thought has crossed their minds.
Hmm.
So I think it'd definitely be interesting, and I think it's probably the best chance of promotion and relegation anywhere in the American soccer pyramid that we're going to see. I mean, there's not going to be with MLS's single entity things like that. There's not going to
Yeah.
be promotion relegation in there. The lower divisions is really where you're going to have to go for pro rel, I think, in the
Do you
future.
think that the entry of the MLS2 sides into the league would throw a wrench into the promotion relegation scheme?
I didn't hear the very important verb in that sentence.
Sure.
I didn't either.
The inclusion of the MLS2 sides in the USL Pro, do you think that's going to affect the ability to go to a promotion relegation scheme? Because it would be, I don't know, it would be strange if, half of the MLS2 sides are promoted or relegated and then they're having so much turnover in their talent year over year, I think, more so than the standard teams are seeing. Do you think that confuses things a little bit?
You mean as far as are you saying this because you'd be worried that the like an MLS2 team would be really good one year, and then all those players would be called up, and then they'd be really bad the next year?
Sure,
Something like that.
or they're really bad, and so they're in the lower league, and then all of a sudden, they're trying to get their players more experience. But maybe LA2 is in the lower league, but uh, Portland 2 is in the higher league, and you have players, not getting the same experience, the same development and experience levels,
Well, if
even though
LA2
they're both on.
if LA2 wanted to have their players get experience against better players, then they should have done better in the last season.
Sure, yeah,
Yeah.
but if they
And
didn't,
honestly, as far as the teams that you picked, I think LA probably wouldn't be having that problem.
well, not. I mean, we're talking about five
Hypotheticals, yeah.
years down the road too. But I'm just
Well,
saying,
no,
yeah, I'm just picking out
I'm
a
not saying
couple of just teams.
I'm not saying Galaxy as in they win everything. I'm just saying Southern California has a lot of talented players.
They do.
Sure,
But as far as how they might muck up that plan, there's always the chance that that who knows, maybe all the MLS2 teams will be in the top division, maybe they'll all suck and be in the bottom division, and then we might just have another reserve league type situation. I don't personally think that that's going to happen because, for the most part, mainly because MLS doesn't want it to happen, so it won't.
sure.
Yeah.
They won't have their teams do that. But I don't know. I think as far as some teams being in the lower division, some teams being in the higher division, it might be. My first reaction is to look at it more of a reflection of the youth development, the quality of the youth development coaching and of the talent pool that they have at their disposal. If they have really good talented players and have quality youth coaching and a development system, then they'd probably be in the upper league because they'd be a good team. If you have somebody like, I don't know, San Jose, who their only homegrown player so far has come from the Sacramento area ish, then they might be stuck in the lower leagues because they're trying to grow a Stephen Lenhart at 18 years old. I'm so sorry. I am a Quakes fan, so I say this because I hate myself, but I'm sorry.
You
But
guys,
so
you guys could have a good year. You're Dom Kinnear. He's a
let's
cool
hope.
dude. He
Yeah.
can
You can
he can
definitely tell Ian is sincere by the high-pitched tone of his voice right now.
Hey now.
Well, I'm pretty sure that if it wasn't for Chivas, we would have been like the laughing stock of the Western Conference. So it's only up from here, everybody.
Well, Chivas isn't on the bottom
No
anymore,
problem
so I'm not
anymore.
saying it's only up. It could be.
Take the
Um,
route of the Chivas. Don't talk about that anymore. San Jose fans are very sensitive about the possibility of losing their team again. I'm gonna
Yeah,
be I'm
that
gonna
would
be
be.
demoderated from the from RSJ Earthquakes for this. Thanks,
that's
guys.
what we're working on.
It's
The
okay.
next in
We've
line
got
for moderation and the sub
Some
put us
cruise
up
dude's
to
gonna
this.
kill me if he can find me.
we've had some cruise dude on. He's pretty sweet.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Friend of the
Yeah.
show, Some Cruise Dude, has put us
Yeah.
up to this.
So yeah, I think we're about done talking about Sacramento. Do you want to give your elevator pitch for why Sacramento needs to be in MLS before you go?
I'm just tempted to since I have that thing that I need to go to and I'm a little bit late for it. I'm tempted to just say, well, why not? But that's not a very good pitch. Uh,
It's all riding on this.
yeah. But Don Garber, friend of the show,
Friend of the show, Don
is watching.
Garber.
If
But
only.
It's time to make your
yeah, right.
pitch.
But well, I mean, just as general overall thing, like I said earlier, every single bullet point they've set up, Sacramento's checked it off. They've got a great product on the field. The fans have demonstrated that they're willing to watch them. Well, I can't exactly say watch them through thick and thin because it's only been, winning. But
Mhm.
So
they've
they'll
demonstrated that,
definitely watch them through thick.
yeah. But yeah, that was yeah, I don't know. But they've definitely demonstrated that there's a lot of interest in the area, substantial, like a really large amount of season ticket holders. And, with Vecron Adive and the Kings, and then the York family coming in as investors, They've got a lot of money behind them. So, that's just about I think the phrase is an ownership group with clout. So there's that.
Mhm.
Uh, and actually, it's funny about the Yorks. A lot of people, a lot of 49er fans were really worried about, the fact that the Yorks would come and basically just mess everything that Sacramento's been doing right. Uh, Both them and the Kings investors, other than Kevin Nagel, they're both minority investors, so they don't really have that much control over what happens.
So you're
But
saying Vivek isn't trying to implement a revolutionary new uh, cherry picker style in soccer, and he's not trying to dump Nick Stauskas on you guys or anything?
yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, the I've said this actually for kind of the past 2.5-ish years, but the most dramatic, uh, the most dramatic tactical change in American soccer you'd probably see coming up is going to be in San Jose with their patented 4-0-6 formation, with Victor Bernardez hitting long balls and or long free kick shots, uh, trying to glance it off the head or chest of Steven Lenhart and Chris Wondolowski. And it could have been Chimdum Mez, but he didn't actually get signed. I'm talking about the guy from Sac State that got
Mhm.
drafted by San Jose just kind of out of nowhere. We were all kind of pulling for him, but actually, right before we started recording this, he just put out a tweet that he wasn't signed, so that really sucks because he's a
Oh.
really good guy.
Well, maybe
So,
he'll come
whatever.
play for the Republic.
That's kind of what I said. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go to their training on Tuesday and just like, hey, I should bring Chim with me. They're like, go out there, show them that you're 6 foot something and can play soccer.
All right. Well, Josh, it's been great having you on the podcast. Thank you for proselytizing about the Sac Republic and our probable eventual 23rd, 22nd, 24th. I don't know where we're at next. Just there'll be an MLS. Just don't even worry about it.
Sometime, who knows?
Yeah. Exactly.
One day you'll wake up and bam, we'll be there.
Yes.
That's the creepiest pitch I've heard yet.
Doing my
We'll be
job,
watching you sleep.
Dawn.
All right, it was
Uh,
great talking to you.
Great talking to you two guys. Sorry for talking so long. I got a bad habit of that.
Well, we're
That's what we're here
we're
for.
never known for rambling or anything like that. So
All right, see you guys.
Have
yeah,
a good one.
thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right, it's just me and you now, Ian.
It is.
Just the two of us. We
We've
can
got to
make it if we
power.
try.
We've got to power through all of these topics
That's
or something.
that's right, listeners. We're here to begrudgingly talk about a list of things in front of us. Let's go. Let's start checking them off. All right, so we've
So I
seen a
didn't.
couple of. Let's jump to U.S. men's national team. What do you say?
Okay.
Sound good? Good starting spot.
Yeah.
So we've seen a few friendlies now. We have one win in the books in the year 2015,
Woo.
which is a relief. So what do you think of the team so far? Do you like the new formation? Do you hate the new formation?
I liked the 3-5-2. Anybody who listened to whatever episode that it was that we did after the friendly against Chile, I like the notion of it only because I played it in high school. Um, did they use it against Panama? I thought they didn't
For
do that.
sure. I
They did.
mean, I think they did. I was watching the game and it seemed that Jermaine Jones was still on the back line, so I just went ahead and assumed.
Oh, fun. Did that
Um,
experiment still fail? Still, I guess it didn't because they didn't allow any goals. But
so the thing that scared me is he went one-on-one with a couple people, which would be great if he was in the midfield. But every time he does it as a defender, it just scares the shit out of me.
yeah, I wrote down in my notes when I was watching the Chile game is like, yeah, this whole Jermaine Jones handling the ball in the back line is really great. It means somebody. Oh wait, no, it doesn't because Chile now has a 2-0 because Jermaine Jones lost it because he was trying to dribble out of the back line. Great.
I
No.
saw him do it a couple times in the match today. By the
Yeah.
way, everybody, it's Sunday right now. Yeah, I saw him do it a couple times, and he was successful. when I was watching him do it, but every time he was successful, I was like, oh, I did. It was the exact same reaction you have. It's like, oh, it's great that we have a backline person that can take on. Oh wait, we're playing with 3 on the backline. I don't want this. This is not what I want.
I don't. So my concern that I guess that I told James and I told Josh, and I'll tell you now, I'm not. I'm not convinced of Jermaine Jones's aerial ability.
Well, I don't think Jermaine Jones is convinced of his ability to play on the backline, which isn't a great. I mean, he came out at some point publicly saying that he's not comfortable back there. So I
Yeah.
think that you definitely that's something you want to take into account going forward.
So is this Klinsman's way of just like training him up defensively? He's not actually going to be like a center back, but he
We're
needs to
going to
be
go
better
with like
defensively.
the old school Dutch style of training, just total soccer.
Yeah, something like that.
We're going to
Um,
put Michael Bradley forward. We're going to put Jermaine Jones back. They'll learn yet.
put Tim Howard at center mid. Um, he could actually might do kind of well there. Actually, he was
What
apparently
did you think of your boy Miguel O'Bara?
he started, I
He
guess.
did. He did indeed start. He reminded me a lot of Breck Shea in that he's really good at getting into position, and then once he's there, he's got some work to do.
Yeah, well, he is in NASL, so
Right.
that he has some work to do is not surprising.
No, and I
Um,
don't think it's bad that he has some work to do. Although, I mean, we're starting him, so he's got to be at least somewhat there.
well, I mean, but he's not going to be the guy. I mean, he's occupying the Fabian Johnson role, right? And Fabian Johnson isn't going anywhere for a while.
Sure.
So basically, the guys that we've put out there, Ibarra, Breck, um, are just placeholders and depth. And I guess Brad Davis isn't in the picture anymore, which is kind of weird because he did kind of well at the World Cup, but he might be kind of old. I just said
Yeah, I
kind of
think
four
he's.
times.
I think he's getting a little old, and I think he's kind of already at his skill cap. And Klinsmann is looking, at least, especially during this camp, he's looking for people who he can develop in those positions.
Right. Even though he brought Wando, who
Right. I don't get it. There are so many young strikers. I mean, it's good that you have Zardes up there, but you have so many young strikers that you can put in that role, and you bring Wando in.
so okay, here's the big confession. I didn't watch any of the Panama game because I was walking around Chapel Hill because Dean Smith died today, and I was really
How
sad.
dare you? So there was a really amazing Michael Bradley Olympico goal.
I saw that. I saw the
In the
gif of
heat of
that.
the moment, I thought that it came off a defender or one of the other players, but it went straight into the net. No
Yeah.
post at all. Just straight into the net. So that was impressive. And that Dempsey goal, too. Dempsey just ran through everybody and got a goal. It was
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
He does.
So the goals looked good. That was all first half. And then once we started seeing the subs in the first half, I mean, I think we were kind of seeing the fact that this wasn't, the full national team. I think some of the cracks were starting to show again in terms of just lack of creativity going forward in the second half and things like that. But the first half was very promising.
Well, that's good. So does this? I have two questions that are kind of related to each other. The first is, does this dull the Klinsmann out narrative? And the second is, and I can't believe I'm saying this a week after vehemently defending Klinsmann for like the 17th time in a row. Does the Klinsmann out narrative have a voice? Like, is it?
I don't think it does. I think it's people want a story in sports, and it's the only story they have. I mean, all he's doing is trying new things at this point. I mean, he had a Landon Donovan going away game that his hand was forced on, and other than that, he's just been trying stuff. And I think this is the only time in the next 4 years where you get to try stuff. And I think people, I mean, maybe people who are coming in on the World Cup high and things like that, or started watching during the World Cup, are expecting that level. But with all of the competitions we're going to be involved in over the next 4 years, I think this is the only chance he has to just say, what if we tried something different? After this, he's locked in.
So I'm less concerned with the relatively poor results in and the trying stuff. I don't super mind that. What I do kind of mind is there were a couple of articles that came out. One was a reiteration of his predisposal to fitness,
Right.
which is great, except we've always been good at that. Like we've never
Right.
been bad at fitness.
And the
That's
articles that came down were saying, him trying to force the fitness may have made the players less fit in the long run. So I think that's definitely a concern to look at.
which I think has some merit because we saw that happen with Graham Zusi and Matt Beasler. Basically, almost everybody that went to the World Cup and played in a very high intensity role. Like Clint Dempsey's kind of like a superhuman example of how that didn't happen, but he did kind of tail off at the end of that year. He didn't score. I think I don't know. He only scored like one goal over the Seattle's last 10 games or something. And
But don't you think that's part of a learning experience for Klinsmann? Because, I mean, with teams he's had before, he maybe hasn't had to focus on fitness as hard. So maybe he thought, and I know going into the World Cup, there were a lot of, thin air situations, things like that. There was a lot of warning going into the World Cup, and people basically saying, if you have a fit team in the heat, in the jungle, you're going to be able to do better in the 70th minute, 80th minute, 90th minute. Do you think that the environment that they were playing in led him to make those decisions in the first
and that
place?
so are you asking if the decision-making process was sound, even if the results ended up, even if it ended up backfiring?
Well, I mean, do you think he learned from it?
I hope so. I don't think we're like, but how are we gonna know?
I don't know that it's enough to start calling for a new head coach right away. I think that for me,
I
it's
I
just the
mean,
media narrative that's a fun story to tell. That
he's definitely earned Russia. Like he's earned the right, I think, to coach us through Russia, and which is the end of his contract. And once that is over, we'll probably get someone else. Um, I actually think Bruce Arena should coach the team again. By the way, I was thinking about this. I stayed up till 5 a.m. writing a 4,000 word.
I thought you were about to say you stayed up till 5 a.m. thinking about it, which was going to be way worse.
Well,
Just thinking.
I yeah, I was writing too. I think Bruce Arena should coach again, but there's also along with the fitness issue, there's also a mild concern that Klinsmann is trying to impose a culture on American soccer on a country that is so multicultural. That's
But
defined by its.
that's why we hired him to define a culture.
I know, but I guess the question, and people have been asking this for 5 years, but is that a good thing? Is it a good thing to try and define that culture when some could argue that it's that diversity that makes American soccer players at least unique, at least like able to weird people out on the international stage to the tune of some interesting results?
Well, I
That
think this is an important question that'll help us get to the root of where you're coming from on this. What do you think the culture he's trying to impose is?
I think he's trying to impose I mean he's trying to impose the German culture, which is defined as, in his mind, it's defined as fit, it's defined as uh, aggressive, high pressure sometimes, though there wasn't a lot of that in the World Cup, but I think he had to adjust his tactics on the fly for that. Um, it's a vehement responsibility, I guess, because he talks a lot about how MLS players aren't held accountable, or American soccer players aren't held accountable, and a lot of that has to do with just the simple amount of passion that there is for the game. But I don't know.
I mean, he's a lot of what he brought in. He was talking about, unifying the youth camps, and they've made strides. U.S. Soccer has made strides to, get rid of pay for play in the youth program. They've made strides to to increase quality of coaching at the lower levels, especially in the academy systems, things like that, and make sure everybody's teaching a more technical game. Because I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of the issue with if
And
you looked at
those
youth
things are
soccer in the
great.
past, a lot of the issues was it was literally just the taller kids got to play. Like that's what youth soccer was. If you could beat up the other kids and get it to a head, get get the ball in your head, then you were going to advance in the youth system, and that's what it had always been. And I think that that's what he's bringing to the table is trying to. I'm not saying it's just him, but that's part of what he was bringing was saying, we have to work starting in the youth system and moving up. And I think if you look at across some of his coaching choices, he's done some of that in terms of bringing youth in. I mean, we're seeing, like I said, we're seeing Miguel Ibarra, which I don't think we would have seen under any other coach. We're seeing people like Green come in. We're probably seeing people like Slalom come in. We just are seeing a lot of building out of the youth that we didn't see under a lot of other coaches, at least not. I mean, I can't say it's successful yet, but it feels better than when our youth movement was, Breck Shea, um, and and I guess I don't know. It feels like there's a brighter future to me, and that's why I'm pretty okay with what he's been doing as a coach.
And if his tactical acumen at the national team level is a little lacking, but his presence leads to that larger youth integration, leads to just more kids getting noticed, leads to more kids getting the training that they need and getting the coaching that they need, then that's, I will take that. I'll take that trade.
But let me ask
Absolutely.
you this:
Because
do
we're
you
not
think
gonna.
his tactical acumen is lacking? If you look at, I think if you divided the games into important games and non-important games, I think you'll see that sometimes he'll use these friendlies as a way to experiment. He's going to put a different formation in. If you look at some of the major, I mean, he's gotten us
I'll never
results
criticize him
against
for
Germany.
doing.
He's gotten us results against Portugal.
Yeah.
He's gotten us results all over the place that I don't know that other coaches could have gotten us.
I'll never criticize him for doing weird things in friendlies. That's what you're supposed to do. I don't mind that. Honestly, it's still like a. What I'm thinking of is still an unpacking of the World Cup, of weird things that came out in CONCACAF qualifying. And I'm not, by the way, espousing this opinion. I'm still on the side of Klinsmann should get to coach in Russia.
Sure, it's not a fun conversation if we're both on the same side, though. So I
Exactly.
get
So I'm trying to take this side, and I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Is really what I'm trying to do. And but there's still some weird things like Beckerman not playing in the Belgium game when he had played so well in the group stages. Um, Not bringing a backup Josie. Um, you know,
Wando was there. Oh wait.
and but speaking of Wando, there are people who make points on the Reddits that are like, you know, if Wando makes that, no one is talking about this.
Well, let me ask you this to take you down a nightmare path. Who was the replacement he should have brought for Josie? And how did he do the rest of the season?
Listen. Shut up.
I'm listening. I've been way ahead of the curve on DC on that one, all right?
Hey, we took a chance on a lot of players, and most
And
of them worked out.
didn't take a chance on the one that didn't work out.
There was another player that we could have brought, though, I think. It was, not Teal Bunbury. Juan Agudelo. He could have brought Juan Agudelo. That could have worked.
He could have brought Landon Donovan, too, but he didn't.
Yeah, well, we didn't need a Landon Donovan. We needed a backup Josie. There was another guy, Why am I blanking on the strikers that we had available for that team? There was another guy who could have filled that role, sort of. That wasn't Eddie Johnson.
I think Eddie Johnson was next in line, though. And I don't think it would have been a good idea.
No. Yeah, I took one side of the Wando versus EJ debate a long time ago, back last May, with some cruise dude, and I've definitely flipped my opinion, and it has nothing to do with how this MLS season played out or anything.
Well, I think they're difficult to compare in the first place, so you're just basically comparing the teams around them along with the players themselves.
Yeah, if I
They
remember
have different styles.
if I remember correctly, the debate basically came down to we need a backup. We needed somebody to bring. We need to bring somebody who does things that Josie does too, in case Josie goes down, and then that's what happened. And I don't know, maybe Eddie Johnson would have done great, and then he would have played well for DC later.
That's where all
And
the
then,
bitterness comes from. I got it now.
yeah, exactly. We would have won that
I
one
found my way
Cup.
into the darkest parts of your heart, and now I understand.
Yeah, I actually think he has a lot of meaningful moments for DC this year. Eddie Johnson does.
I don't think he's done. I just
Yeah.
don't think he's worth the money that he was paid for him.
Well, this is a contract year for him, I think. So, you know,
Sure.
yeah.
See how far his contract will be decreased next year.
Hey, it's well, anyway.
What's he sitting at now?
I mean, he's a DP.
Right.
Hold on. I actually have to look this up now. Eddie Johnson contract.
I mean, I think he would be a solid like $200,000 player.
Yeah. Well,
Where I think Eddie Johnson sits.
we'll see.
All right.
I mean, let's
Enough
move on.
negativity. I think that Klinsmann has earned his spot. I don't know that he'll hold it beyond Russia, but I know that we've seen some other interest from some good coaches. So we'll see. I mean, I think he has some competition coming up.
Yeah. Hold on a second, Chris.
Guys, Ian's in trouble. I'm gonna see what happens. I'll whisper you everything that's happening. He might be dead actually. All right, he's back. He's not dead. Shut up, everybody. Shut up. He's back.
I was asked
Hey,
where
Ian,
a
what's
flute
up?
was.
What's up?
I was asked where a flute was.
Well, that's
So
something.
so
Was it like, did she hear the noise of a flute and she was like, Ian, where's that flute coming from?
no. So there are like 7 flutes in this household, and one of them is up here.
Singing
And
flutes.
yeah, well, all of us play flute, so.
If those were piccolos, I would be worried that you were about to march off to war, but
2 of them are piccolos. There are 2
Okay.
piccolos actually, so 7
Word.
flutes and 2 piccolos. But yeah, what were we talking about? Eddie Johnson,
what are you talking about? There's like flutes and piccolos and stuff.
flutes and piccolos cast.
We're talking about piccoli. Yeah,
Sir
we're talking
Ian
about how
Anderson.
Eddie Johnson is not worth a DP contract at this point in his life.
Yeah, well, no shit. Can we talk about things that are prettier, like your jerseys and shit?
Yeah, we're talking jerseys now. That's next on the list, everybody. That's the next thing we have to truck through on this list. Bunch of jerseys dropping.
We're almost an hour in. We could almost like talk about the jerseys and then make bold predictions and be out of here.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So
We'll get through this yet.
so you guys have this sweet new black jersey, which
Hey
is
guys,
sweet.
I'm a Columbus Crew fan.
Oh yeah, it's been a while since you've been on, so people might have forgotten, but they shouldn't have, because they should listen to us every week or twice a week
right,
now,
jerks.
as it's supposed to
Go
be.
back in time, listen to all of them in order. You'll learn all about predictions we made a year ago that were super wrong. Yeah, I'm a Columbus Crew fan, and now I have to choose between 2 amazing jerseys. Am I going to have to buy both? Probably.
How
The
much?
new crest is great. The jerseys are great.
Yeah, your ownership is killing it. You guys are a good soccer team
Design-wise.
too.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. We pretty much filled out all of our needed positions as long as, the new people can produce. If Tony Chani is still last half of the season Tony Chani, then we'll be unstoppable. If he's first half of the season Tony Chani, I have my concerns about our midfield.
And you guys could potentially be getting Federico Higuain into the fold.
We already have him.
Oh, the other one. I mean, Gonzalo.
We already got him. Gonzalo, that was amazing that Federico name dropped him and said they could play together in MLS, but I know he's on a 5-year contract right now. So I think he's still got 3 or 4 years left. So I doubt
where
we
is
will
that
see
contract? Where
him.
does he play?
That is a great question. Is it in Italy, perhaps? I
Oh,
mean,
because
Google it.
if it's in Europe, then never mind. But if he's in like South
I
American
think it's a big
contracts
money
are.
contract, and I think we would have to pay big money to get him out of it. It is. He is with Napoli.
Oh, that's a Champions League team.
Yes. So
So,
we would have to pay some bank to get him out of 3 years of a contract, and he's making a bunch of money too. So
and
I
if I
don't see it
remember,
happening anytime soon, but maybe when they're both 34 years old and 30 years
wasn't it?
old.
I thought it was only going to be like 31 and 33.
It might be. I can't. I'm not good at math. I know he going. Federico is like 30 now.
Oh, okay. Well, still.
We're
Wait, is
pushing
he
it.
the older one? Is he the
Yes,
younger one? Okay.
he's the older one.
So he's like the Archie Manning, and then Gonzalo is the
He's
Peyton
the Peyton
Manning.
Manning because their father played also. So
Yeah.
he's like the Peyton Manning, and then, but again, it's not really. We'll just call him Eli Manning, even though
Or
I
no,
will
but
say it straight through my teeth.
there's a third Manning brother that's older than both of them but didn't play football.
That's still not a good comparison because
Okay.
Federico Higuain is like a top 6 player in the MLS.
Well, right, but like I bet if there were more American football leagues, then the oldest brother would have played in like Italy or something. Yeah.
Sure.
There is actually an
I didn't
Italian
even know
American
there was
football
a
league.
third
I
brother.
read
I know
about it in
Archie
a John
Manning
Grisham
was
book.
like their dad's name.
What's that?
I didn't know that there was a third Manning brother.
Yes, it's not Archie. I got
That's
Archie
their dad's
confused
name.
with yeah, yeah, exactly.
Anyways, Cooper
Anyway,
Manning.
Cooper Manning. If there were more American football leagues in the world, he would have played quarterback for Napoli or something.
Enough. But
Yeah.
yeah, real great jerseys, real great team. We would all love to see more designated players, but they're building such solid depth at this point. I think what we really need now is, I mean, because at this point, it's just a wish list instead of a list of needs. We could use depth at striker and we could use depth at center back. Other than that, we're just all full up. Like no one that I would want to see let go to bring in another
You guys
player at
got
this point.
someone really fast recently. Like he's so fast. Like
So fast.
the most fast. The
Oh, Grana,
fastest.
I
Yeah,
think,
or
out of
something.
Argentina. He
No,
is
no,
a
no, 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 no.
no. Who
The
are we talking about?
Congolese dude.
The Congolese dude.
Yeah.
Who did we get those fast?
I don't know. Like Rizwati is his name, I think.
I don't think that's a person on our team.
I promise you guys Rizwati. Hold on. No, maybe. Maybe I do
For the
mean that.
roster, I mean, we got. You're just making stuff up now. You're making me look bad by making up names. I know the whole
No,
roster.
he played this for Congo in the third place game, and he made this great run. Hold on.
Mabladi?
Maybe.
He's from Congo.
Yeah.
He is inactive on the roster. That's fun.
Okay.
Oh yeah, he's not coming
Start again.
through. He comes through mid. He's coming through, I think, in the summer window.
Oh,
Is
okay.
what's happening.
Gotcha.
So we will have him midway through the season.
Okay.
But
Yeah. Well, it's
looking
been
forward to a
so,
fast midfielder.
but
We're
it has
stacked at
been
midfield though.
yeah. But it has been a while, and you haven't talked about Columbus with us. And
Yeah, let's
so,
talk about it.
so how are you feeling? Will Trap and all that?
Feeling great. I mean, like I said, we got Will Trapp is. I mean, he has had his national team experience now, which is really cool for him to get under his belt. We got Kai Kamara, and we're all hoping that he's going to be classic, good enough to go to Europe. Kai Kamara and be the salvo we all needed in, on the front lines. We added two. They're both right and left backs in the offseason. I mean, I'm just really excited about the team at this point. I think that's one of the outstanding questions is, can Emmanuel Pogatetz be as good in the league as he has been traditionally elsewhere? I think that's a big question for us because we only saw him play 1 or 2 games last year. But, we're saying if he can, step it up on the back line alongside Parkhurst, then I just absolutely love our team front to back.
Playoffs a lock, you think?
Again, like I said, I'm worried about our depth at center back. I think if anybody gets injured or if Parkhurst isn't as good as we all hope him to be, then we could have some defensive issues. And then we need to see the offense gel with Kai Kamara up front. But I just think that it's
be
the
careful
best
with
team.
those guys
It's the
who.
best team
Be
on
careful.
paper. Sorry, it's
Be
the
careful.
best team on paper going into a season that we've seen in 5 seasons probably.
Yeah, that's fair. Do be careful with those guys who leave MLS for a bit and come back, because MLS tends to improve faster than they do sometimes, and it gets
Right,
a little.
and I would be a little bit concerned on that, but honestly, we're replacing a couple of guys who had a goal or two last year. Like if he can get 2 goals, he'll be on par with last year's production from forward. Like all we have are a couple of tall guys we got in the draft a couple years prior to this. We got
Gotcha.
Schoenfeld, and we have tallest player ever, Badell.
Right.
But he
He
can't
doesn't
play
jump.
with his head. He just plays with his feet. It's good times. And then, yeah, like I said, at midfield, we're just stupid stacked. And we got a lot of goals out of our midfield last year, so we're really excited to see. Like, we're really excited for most of the new signings this year, and it's just, I can't wait to see if they're as good as the hype at this point.
Sounds exciting. Well, I have you guys as a lock to make the playoffs. I hope you're okay with that.
I am, because worst case scenario, like I said, we have most of last year's team intact still.
Yeah. I have you guys as the 3 seed behind New England and Toronto. Just saying.
Sure.
And then we're the 4, and then other teams happen. So yeah, bold predictions. You got one, Chris? Maybe.
We didn't even talk about DC's retro kit yet. Are you so
Oh yeah.
fast to go find your flutes that you can't talk some DC shop?
It's cool. So okay, so I've talked before. I was watching the '98 MLS Cup, and I wrote a lot about it, and that's gonna go up at some point. Look for that on the slashMLS.com. They wore in that game these really neat white and red jerseys, mostly white with the 3 red stripes down like the side, vertically. And this is kind of a throwback to that, except horizontally and a little bit more red. But it definitely is reminiscent of those late '90s white and red kits.
It looks like they found a shirt from the 90s in the basement and put it on a mannequin, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I don't think any DC fan is going to be upset with that, because, the '90s were pretty nice to us. Just saying.
I mean, your stadium still worked back then.
Echeverry was still around.
What's the stadium situation over there? Is it finally passed city council?
Yeah, it's happening.
You sounded so disappointed about it.
I mean, no one can really get excited until the first game is played, or like they break ground or whatever. But it's pretty clear that it's happening. And I talked with a DC. I went to this tech conference in the DC. And,
the D's.
And I talked with a dude who was a million confident that the stadium was going to happen. So he was still confident, but not as confident that the CBA thing was going to get resolved. But we'll see what happens there. We will have a whole nother episode.
40-minute conversation on the CPA, and then
let's
we'll
not
be good to
do
go.
that.
All right. What's your bold prediction? Let's hear it.
My bold prediction is that Bruce Arena coaches the national team in 2018 after Lisbon's done.
My bold prediction is that Bruce Arenas uh, is fired from his job for looking too smug on the sidelines before that happens. That's my prediction.
Okay.
We've never had to fire anyone for looking too smug before, but I think it's time.
Well,
My bold prediction is that the U.S. men's national team wins 2 of their next 3. That's Denmark, Switzerland, and Mexico.
they could do it.
2 of them, Denmark and Switzerland away games. I think that we're going to see a turnaround once Klinsmann starts buckling down and working towards the upcoming competitions. And
Yeah,
also once a lot of the players are more match fit in the MLS season.
indeed.
That's all I got. It's been great talking to everybody. I will see you next time.
Sweet.